Welcome everyone, both friend and stranger, old and new, to this time of worship in the Unitarian tradition. My name is Diane Rutter and I'm the lay assistant here at Kingswood Meeting House in Hollywood in the West Midlands. My hope is that the words, prayers, hymns and music we hear today will bring comfort, hope and an uplifting of the spirit. My thanks as always go to Peter Flower, who makes all of this possible. At the end of today's service, there will be an opportunity for those who wish to join in a service of sharing bread and wine known as communion. The Unitarian tradition does not require you to be a member of this church, nor to be confirmed. All are welcome to join in this act of remembrance and community. And we begin with our chalice lighting. As the leaves of autumn have lit a blaze of beauty across the woodlands, let us kindle our light of faith and community, bright with the colours of people, warm with welcome, and radiant with hope. Our first reading today is from Rumi. Buried in the earth, a kernel of wheat is transformed into tall stalks of grain. Crushed in the mill, its value increases, and it becomes bread, invigorating to the soul. Ground in the teeth, it becomes spirit, mind, and the understanding of reason. Lost in love, that Spirit delights the sowers after the sowing. And so we come to a time of prayer. Creator God, you blessed us with the earth's abundance and charged us with stewardship for your creation. Your prophets called us to faithfulness to bring good news to the world, to share what we have and to help those in need. Help us to be good citizens. May your message ring out through our words and deeds. Open the eyes and hearts of our leaders, that we may, as a nation, rise to the challenge and dedicate our resources to ending hunger in our world. Thus may we see the light of the Christ that dwells within us all shine forth to all the ends of the earth. Amen. And I invite you to say with me, as you feel able, the words of the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, for ever and ever. Amen. Our next reading today is a poem, The Promise of Bread, by C.L. Edson. Out on the frozen uplands, underneath the snow and sleet, in the bosom of the ploughland, sleeps the promise of the wheat. With the ice for head and footstone and a snowy shout outspread, in the frost-locked tomb of winter, sleeps the miracle of bread. With its 100,000 reapers and its 100,000 men, and the click of guard and sickle, and the flails that turn again, and the drover's shout, and the snap of whips and creak of horses' tugs, and a thin red line of gingham girls carrying the water jugs, and yellow stalks and dagger beards that stab through cotton clothes, and farmer boys a-shocking wheat in long and crooked rows, and dust-veiled men on mountain stacks whose pitchforks flash and gleam, and threshing engines shrieking songs in syllables of steam, and elevators painted red that lift their giant arms and beckon to the harvest god above the brooding farms, and loaded trains that hasten forth a hungry world to fill, all sleeping just beneath the snow out yonder on the hill. And so we come once more to a time of prayer. Be gentle when you touch bread. Let it not lie uncared for, unwanted. So often bread is taken for granted. There is such beauty in bread, beauty of the sun and soil, beauty of the patient toil. Wind and sun have caressed it, Christ often blessed it. Be gentle when you touch bread. God of all creation, we give you thanks for the seeds that you sow in our lives, the seeds of faith, hope, and love. Help us to nurture these seeds in all your people, that together we may produce a bountiful harvest, and in unity enjoy the feast we are all given in your grace. Amen. There's a real art to making bread. Of course, a recipe specifies what the ingredients are and tells how much flour to add. But the atmosphere of the room, the heat and humidity affects the dough. Flour, even though it feels very dry, contains a small amount of moisture, which varies with the atmosphere. This means that the exact amount of flour needed to make the dough can vary from day to day. And so, the seasoned bread maker adjusts the flour according to the conditions of the day. Next comes the kneading. This is necessary to develop the elasticity of the gluten in the flour for those of us who are fortunate enough not to need gluten-free products. The yeast works in combination with this elasticity to make the dough rise properly. The bread maker learns to judge how well the elasticity has been developed by the feel of the dough. But the greatest amount of time in bread making is spent waiting. After the dough has been kneaded and placed in a warm, moist environment, the bread maker must simply wait, allowing the yeast to do its work. This waiting is also an art, for the bread maker must wait just the right amount of time. And this time also varies from day to day, depending on the conditions. If the bread maker moves too quickly into the next step, the result will be a bread that is hard, heavy, and unpleasant. If the bread maker waits too long, the dough will collapse, resulting in a bread that is also hard and unpleasant. Waiting is vital to the process of bread making. After the dough has risen, it must be shaped and allowed to rise again. Again, the bread maker must wait, carefully staying attuned to the condition of the dough. Finally, the bread is ready to be baked. After putting the loaves in the oven, the bread maker waits yet again. Anticipation builds as the aroma of bread baking fills the room. But the bread cannot be eaten until all these times of waiting have taken place. And if you speak to many bakers, they will also tell you that it's the love, it's the feel of the day that also goes into the bread and conditions how the bread will come out. And there are many, many different types of bread which I love and enjoy on a frequent basis. You have sweet or plain, leavened or unleavened, etc. But most bread is usually for sharing. Think of all the wonderful types of bread that you come across in restaurants. I often think of it as being the glue they bring to a meal. There are different types of bread for all sorts of meals, and I'm sure you yourselves have tried some of them. There are also breads that have some spiritual significance, particularly for the people of the book, or the Abrahamic peoples as they are known. Challah is a special Jewish bread that is traditionally eaten on the Sabbath and holy days. And one of the greatest blessings that Jewish women have is the privilege of performing the blessing of separating the challah. They also break bread in Palestinian homes. The bakers there bless the dough with the word Bismillah before kneading, and the family says Bismillah before eating. Bismillah means in the name of the source of life. An oath of honour is sealed by touching bread. Disregard of bread is a sign of disrespect towards the Creator. If bread falls to the ground, it is kissed, and the person who picks it up says Bismillah and returns it to a clean place. Blessings are conveyed through bread prepared in a sacred place or offered by a holy person. Bread eaten together creates a bond of friendship, mutual obligation and protection. And there is the bread or wafer used in the Christian Holy Communion, a religious rite stemming from the life of Jesus of Nazareth, who shared a meal with friends not long before his death. In the Christian writings, Jesus takes the bread, breaks it, shares it amongst his followers, saying, "This is my body broken for you." And for many centuries, Christians have shared bread and wine in their places of worship. In Sikh Gurdwaras the world over, People are welcome to partake of food and bread and will always form a part of their langar meals, this bread. Langar is the Punjabi word used in Sikhism for the community kitchen in a Gurdwara, where a free meal is served to all the visitors without distinction of religion, caste, gender, economic status or ethnicity. The free meal is always vegetarian. And there are different ingredients for different breads. Some have salt, oil, butter, yeast, depending on which type of bread you're going to produce. But they all have patience. And there are different ways of sharing. Different ways of sharing in community outside of worship services. I quite like an afternoon tea or a coffee morning. You get soup lunches, fundraisers where food is sold to help others. I often say that I'm trying to change the world one cup of tea and a piece of cake at a time. It takes many people and patience to create a loving, sharing, caring and effective worshipping community. To be open to divine love can sometimes be difficult. To know what is right and to know how to do it effectively sometimes seems hard. To put love into action can be hard. It takes patience. There will be times of waiting and times of action, and the proof of our efforts may not be seen in our lifetime. Like the farmers who plough their fields and sow their seed, we can only hope and pray that with time and effort, what is necessary to bring in a good harvest safely will be forthcoming. Amen. Welcome to this service of communion, and we begin with the Shabbat Jewish blessing. Blessed art thou, Lord our God, King of the universe, who brings forth bread from the earth. Welcome everyone. Welcome to this communion service, to this celebration of communion and community, to this community of human persons here to worship God and to remember Jesus. We who bring to this occasion our different visions and beliefs gather here or gather all over in friendship and sympathy, in communion, to place our vision of God at the centre of our celebration and to share in our common and spiritual heritage, our common hope and purpose. We are here to celebrate all of the ways in which we are connected to each other through God, and all the ways in which we are connected to God through each other, and inspired by the example of Jesus to affirm that connection in the sharing of bread and wine. When Jesus broke the bread with his disciples on the evening of the Last Supper, he was honouring the past and preparing for the future. He was honouring the Jewish tradition that he belonged to. He was celebrating the Passover meal. And through that, the covenant with God that bound the Jewish people together. He was also looking toward the future, to the new covenant, to a new, intimate and dynamic relationship with God that no one is excluded from. The new, universal covenant that binds everyone to God and to each other. Christ laid down his life in an act of love to prove that love never dies and cannot be destroyed. God's all-creating, all-redeeming, all-renewing love is freely poured fresh every day, in every moment. This is the gift of love by which the sick are healed and the broken are made whole. The Jesus that we meet in the Gospels is not asking us to bow down and worship him. He's asking us to walk alongside him and to bear witness with him to the presence of God in the beauty and mystery of the world and in the decency and dignity of human persons. Let us now go forth into this world around us, guided by the love and courage of Jesus Christ. And let us remember, whenever we share together in love, Christ is with us. Amen. Our time together in worship is now ended, and I leave you with a benediction by Wayne B. Arneson. Take courage, friends. The way is often hard, the path is never clear, and the stakes are very high. Take courage, for deep down there is another truth. You are not alone. Amen.